You're listening to a GWP weather update. It's Thursday, April 2nd, 2026. And in today's weather update, we're going to be looking at the severe threat for today and tomorrow, as well as the flood threat. So we're going to go ahead and we'll start off by looking at some of the national weather alerts across the country. You'll notice that we do still have some flood warnings here across the state of Missouri. So we'll look at those. That's from all the heavy rainfall that we had during the overnight hours. We've also got some wind advisories across Illinois, Indiana, and Missouri. So we're going to be experiencing some strong winds as well as into Oklahoma and Arkansas as well. So that's something that we're going to be dealing with as we go through today. Behind that dry line that initiated those storms in Texas and Oklahoma, we have a red flag warning. So fire threat there today across New Mexico, West Texas, and Oklahoma, Colorado, and Kansas. A lot of the same areas that have been experiencing that. And then we've got Maine getting in on some of the ice that we've been dealing with out of the storm system across the northern plains. So we've got some winter alerts across the Northeast as well as the Northern Plains and Great Lakes region. Wisconsin, we're looking at up to 4/10 of an inch of ice over the next 12 to 24 hours across that region. We've already seen quite a bit of icing and quite a few power outages as a result of some of that ice. So ice storm warnings and then winter storm warnings to the north of that are still in effect as we're dealing with quite a bit of snow on that storm system as well. So this storm system certainly not messing around here on the first week of April. We're dealing with all hazards in play. We've got the fire threat, we've got the severe threat, we've got the flood threat, and we have the winter threat associated with the storm. Well, luckily we don't have all four of those here in the state of Missouri, but we are dealing with the severe and flood threat, and that's something that we're going to continue to be watching as we go over the next couple of days. Looking at kind of that national overview, so again, that front that was kind of draped over Interstate 70 yesterday has lifted just a little bit further to the north, and so that will allow for there we go. There's the actual. So that was actually tomorrow's that we were looking at. So again, that front has moved just a little bit further to the north of Interstate 70. And so that's going to allow for severe weather across Missouri and into Illinois because that front is to the west of Chicago. So Chicago and St. Louis, that's where we're going to have the majority of our severe thunderstorms. But a few thunderstorms cannot be ruled out here in the state of Missouri as we are still kind of on the end of that storm system, if you want to look at it that way. We also do have that dry line. So a few storms will be possible across the Central Plains, but the risk is a lot lower than it was yesterday. And then again, we've got all of this winter weather to the north. That has led to some power outages there in Wisconsin. We're going to show you that in a moment. But first, I just wanted to show you still some rain and snow out west. Again, we need all of this. We need all of that and more out west as we've been very dry this winter across that region. So this is certainly a good sign, but we're going to need a lot more of it over time. But that certainly is a good start. And then again, we do have this small area where we have that critical fire risk as we go into today. So again, all different types of weather. Then as we go into tomorrow, though, things are going to shift a little bit as that cold front is going to be the driving mechanism for our severe weather that we're expecting tomorrow. And that will bring with it a flood threat, tornado risk, a wind risk, a hail risk, every type of severe weather that you can imagine during the springtime. We will be experiencing it along this cold front as we go into tomorrow afternoon and evening. So that is going to become the bigger story. And then again, that rain and or that snow and ice across the northern plains will continue as we go into tomorrow as well. So that is something that we're going to be watching very closely. We mentioned those power outages becoming a bigger concern there in the state of Wisconsin, where we have been experiencing quite a bit of ice. Again, we've already picked up around 2/10 of an inch of ice. We're forecasted to have about 4/10 of an inch total of ice. So that's something we're tracking. And then some of the storms have also left Texas without some power. And then California and Ohio are also dealing with at least 10,000 customers or more that are currently without power. We're currently at 150,000 customers without power across the country. If you take that times three for, there's normally three people per household, that means that we're at about 450,000 people would currently be without power. Just kind of an estimated number based on what we have here from poweroutage.com. Showing you the current radar at this point in time. Most of the rain and the activity is to our east, so that is certainly some good news, but we do still have some flood warnings in effect. These are three separate flood warnings, but they each go until 2:30 p.m. This one here to the west along Interstate 49, this goes for where we've seen 2 to 6 inches of rain. The one here across Sedalia, that goes for 2 to 4 inches of rain. Again, all of these are until 2:15. And then we have this one to the east of there where we've picked up around an inch and a half to 3 inches of rain. So this is where we've seen the worst of the flooding from some of those heavy thunderstorms that we saw during the overnight hours. But again, as we mentioned, not a whole lot of activity out there, at least for now. Something else that we're going to be experiencing, again, as we mentioned, there's a few areas where we have some wind advisories in effect. It is going to be a little bit breezy as we go into this afternoon. 35 to 45 mile per hour sustained winds are going to be possible. Gust maybe even a little bit higher than that. So that is something that we're going to be watching for as we go through the rest of today. So as we mentioned, most of the severe weather will be to our east, but we're still going to time it out for you. So here we go as we go into 2, 3 o'clock. Some of those scattered thunderstorms developing across eastern Missouri. But again, the majority of these will be east of where we're at here in Columbia, as well as down into Jefferson City. And then really we won't see a whole lot of anything in southwest Missouri. So that is certainly some good news since a lot of those areas, again, as we mentioned, have seen quite a bit of rainfall. The severe weather threat will definitely increase once it makes it out of our area. So that is certainly some good news for us, not necessarily for those to our east. So if you are going to be traveling across Illinois and Indiana, definitely some severe thunderstorms are going to be possible. But again, this evening we should be mostly dry here across the state of Missouri. A few thunderstorms in the next couple of hours are going to be possible, but the severe potential is definitely on the lower end. Taking a look here at the severe weather threat, this is from the Storm Prediction Center's Day 1 severe weather outlook. You'll notice that there is a slight risk across St. Louis, in Columbia as well. We're under that slight risk, but anywhere south of Interstate 70 for the most part, with the kind of the exclusion being here in southeastern Missouri, but here in central and western Missouri, not really much of a severe threat as we go into tomorrow. Now that's going to change, or as we go into today, but that is going to change as we go into tomorrow, as we have an enhanced severe weather risk across northern Missouri and southern Iowa. Across our region, we are in that slight risk going into tomorrow. So that's a 2 out of 5 on the SPC's Storm Prediction Center scale. And so cities like Oklahoma City, Kansas City, as well as Tulsa, Des Moines, and Overland Park are under that slight risk as we go into tomorrow. And that does include the majority of the viewing area. As far as our tornado risk goes, so that is something that we're going to be watching for. We are in that 5% category here across northern Missouri, as well as that 2% category here across central and southwestern Missouri. So the tornado threat is going to be very low overall, but it is just a slight bit higher than it was yesterday. So that's something to keep in mind. We also do have that hatched area, those dash marks indicating that EF2 tornadoes or stronger are going to be possible. So that is something that we're going to have to watch out for. And then, of course, we've also got that wind threat as we're under kind of a medium chance for strong straight line winds. And then we also do have that hatched area for straight line winds, which means that 75 mile per hour wind gusts or stronger are going to be possible across this region. Those 75 mile per hour winds or 60 to 75 mile per hour winds, the main threat is going to be during the evening and early overnight hours when that cold front moves through. Once the cold front moves through, our severe weather threat will drop to pretty much zero. And then the hail risk, we also, across the western portion of Missouri, including Kansas City and Nevada and Joplin, we have the risk for 2-inch or greater hail. So again, lime size hail or greater is going to be possible, and that's when you start dealing with a costly damage to vehicles. So there is a possibility that a few of the storms tomorrow could have hail that could be very severe. And so that is something that we need to watch for as we go into tomorrow. And I guess we'll go ahead and we'll kind of time things out. So again, most of the day Friday looks good, but then as we go during the late afternoon and early evening hours, a line of thunderstorms will develop. A few supercells out ahead of the line is possible, but the risk is overall very low. The main potential for severe weather and heavy rainfall is going to be tomorrow night along this line of thunderstorms. Here as we go into 7, 8 o'clock here along Interstate 49. Then it begins to press into Lake of the Ozarks, Jefferson City as we go towards around 9 to 11 o'clock. And then this will likely have moved out of the area after midnight. So tomorrow evening, we do have that severe weather risk. It's a little bit higher than it's been the last couple of days. It's about the same as what we had yesterday, but certainly higher than the risk that we have for today. All right. Well, that is it for today on your GWP weather update.